Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. So a lot of you have been wanting to hear my story of how my family reacted to finding out that I was 18 and pregnant. So I'm going to be explaining that, but I just want to let you guys know that I'm really bad at adding details, so I'm going to try my hardest to try to explain everything. I mean, it was almost a year ago, kind of, so it's kind of hard to remember. But and I know you guys also want to hear about how my ex reacted to finding out I was pregnant, so I'm going to explain that into a different video because it was a very long process. It's like the story is very long, and like the process of like coming up to having Blake, so I will explain that into a different video because yeah, it's very long. So I'm going to start off explaining how my family reacted. It all happened within 2 days of when I found out I was pregnant and me telling my immediate family. So the day I found out, leaving off on my last video, when I came home and I took the other test, my cousin and her mom got me. I took that, and obviously it was the clear blue one that said pregnant or not pregnant, and it said pregnant. So I took that, and I was just sitting in my room, and my family was out there cooking dinner and stuff. And by then I obviously texted my ex and was like, we need to talk, and he was like, oh, just tell me. And I said I was pregnant. So he was coming over to my house. I just wanted to add that in. So he was going to park at the top of my driveway and talk, and he really wanted to come over. He was like, I need to come, we need to talk. And I was like, okay. So I was sitting in my room and I was like, I need to tell someone, I need to talk to someone right now. Like, this pressure on me was just a lot. So I live with at the time I lived with my mom, my stepdad, my brother, and his girlfriend. And my brother and his girlfriend are 5 years older than me. So by then I was like, I need to talk to someone. And so I asked my brother's girlfriend to come in the room. So she came in my room, and I didn't even know how to say it. I showed her the test. I just handed it to her, and she just stared at it, and she was like, okay. Like, she didn't freak out. She was just like, okay, and she hugged me, and I was obviously in shock too. So she hugged me, and she was just like, I'm here for you. Do you have any idea of what you want to do or something? And I was like, I don't have the option in my head about abortion or anything. So she said, okay, well, I'm here for you, and I'm not gonna tell anyone, because I was like, please don't say anything, just let me come out with it, So she's like, okay, I'm not gonna tell anyone. I will wait for you to tell them, because this is your thing. And I was like, okay. I was like, please don't tell Trent either. That's my brother, Trent. I was like, please don't tell him either. And then she was like, okay, I won't, So then she came out of the room, and obviously my brother was like, tell me, what'd she say? What are you talking to her about? Taylor, I want to know, I'm your brother, I want to know. And I was like, I'll tell you, just give me time. And by then, my ex, he was here. He was at the top of my driveway, and he was parked there, and he's like, you need to come out, right now. And I was like, I know, I'm coming. I'm just trying to explain to my, brother's girlfriend. And he's like, okay, I'm waiting. And so I went up there, and we talked, and then I'll explain that in the other video. And then I came back down, and I didn't want to tell anyone else yet, because I was just a mess. Just all the emotions were hitting me, and it was crazy. So I went to sleep, and I had school the next day. And keep in mind, I was a senior in high school. I graduated, but and it was about November. So I went to school, and I had a close relationship with the school psychologist. So I went and talked to the school psychologist, and I was like, hey, my life story already, so I really need help, I'm pregnant, and so I was talking to the school psychologist, and we were already talking about my past, because my father passed away almost 2 years ago in October. And so that's why I was close with her, because we talked about my dad and my past life. So I was really comfortable with her, so I told her I was pregnant. And she's like, okay, well, what do you want to do from here? And I was like, well, I want to go to like Planned Parenthood or somewhere to see the heartbeat or see the ultrasound. So she's like, okay. So she helped me call some places, and I went to like a Planned Parenthood type of place that was free and like wouldn't tell, you know, my family or anything, email them or anything. So I went to this place, and I left campus early because you're allowed to leave if it's like an emergency. And so I left and I went to the place, and they tested me, and obviously I was positive, I was pregnant. I was like, okay. And like I went with my friend, and she was like, let me see how dark the positive comes up. If it's super dark, then you'll probably be able to see the baby, but if it's not, then you might not like be able to see it. And she said it was really light, so I was around like 4 weeks pregnant. I was super early. So she's like, you're probably not gonna see it, and like, you know, sometimes that worries moms. And so I was like, okay, you know, it's fine. Well, like the doctors want to see you when you're around 8 weeks, so that's when you can actually see the baby and the heartbeat. And so by then then I left. She gave me a bunch of stuff. She gave me prenatal vitamins and stuff like that. So I left, and then I went home, and that was when my brother was home, and it was just him and I was like, okay, like I'm pregnant. Like I was just talking to him, and he really wanted to know. So I was like, okay, I'm pregnant. And he was like, okay. And then his initial reaction was like, well, like, are you gonna keep it? Are you gonna like, you know, an abortion? Like, you're a senior. And I was like, no, like I want to keep it. I don't want to get an abortion. He was like, okay. Like obviously he wasn't gonna pressure me for anything, you know. And so he said, okay, like I support you. And so he just kind of stayed quiet for a while, like for like a month. Like he didn't really have anything else to say besides that he's there for me, you know. And the next person I told was my mom. And so my mom gets home around 4:30, and so it was around like 2 when I told my brother. And so I was having the anticipation of like waiting, you know, waiting. And then she got home, and I was like, okay, I need to call her in my room. So I called her in my room, and I'm already crying by then. You know, I'm bawling my eyes out, and you know, parents can already tell, you know, what the issue is. So I just told her that I was pregnant, and I showed her the test, and then she's like, you're joking. And I was like, no, I'm not joking, you know. And I'm crying, and then she just kind of like wasn't surprised, you know. She was surprised and was just looking at me, and then she hugged me, and she didn't really have anything to say. She just kind of hugged me, and then she walked out, and she was bawling and crying. She went through all the phases. There's phases of like sadness to anger to just like silent. You don't say anything. So she went from emotional to mad, and I heard when she was mad. So but I knew she was going through the phases, so I was just like, you know, just let her go through them. And then she just went silent too, and we had the talk where she was just like, what are you thinking? And I was like, I don't want to get an abortion, you know. And she was like, okay, well, I'm here to support you, whatever you choose, you know. She didn't want to push me for anything either. She was fine with whatever I chose. She was going to be there for me. So that's how she reacted. Obviously, she would be crying on her own. I know that. I knew she was crying on her own time and talking to my grandma while she was upset. But I didn't want to upset her more, so I just let her handle the emotions that she needed to go through. Everyone needed to go through the stages, sorry. So I was like, okay, I just let them go through the stages. Then I didn't want to tell my stepdad, so my mom told him. And I think it was like the next day, he came in my room, and he was just like, well, you gotta grow up now. And I was like, yep, I gotta grow up. So he was just, I don't know how he reacted behind the scenes, you know. So I just know when he talked to me, he was like, well, it's time to grow up, you know, be an adult. And I was like, you're right. So that was his reaction. And then I actually told my grandma, yeah, this was all pretty much the same day. I went to her first. She was like my first family member. So I went to her, and being at an older age from back in the day, it was really about abortion back in the day. Like, you weren't into keeping the baby. So my grandma's reaction was different from everybody else's. She was very upset, and I mean, you can tell what she was trying to talk to me about. She didn't really want me to, she didn't want my life to be over. That's what, you know, people saying when you keep the baby, oh, your life is over. She didn't want me to miss out on everything, all the parties and having fun with friends, even though you can still do that. You know, I had to tell her, I was like, you can still do that, you know, my life isn't over, it's just starting, you know, I'll have babysitters, you know, the whole talk. So she was very silent and angry, and definitely had some things to say, but I knew she was going through the phases, and I knew that she was, my grandparents were back then was all about abortion, so I knew that's what she grew up to, was thinking abortion was the first choice. So I knew, I just kind of gave her time and was just letting her go through the mad phase mostly. And then I didn't tell my grandpa. I didn't want to tell the boys, you know, it was kind of hard, the older boys, it was scary. So I didn't tell him. My grandma did, and he hugged my mom at work and just said, like, I'm sorry, because I know my mom was really sad and crying because she didn't want me to miss out also. But that was my grandpa. He didn't really talk to me about anything. I think I went into his work one day and I sat in his office, and he was just like, so, like, you're gonna have to be an adult. And I was like, yep. Yeah, it was really awkward. It was an awkward talk. It was really awkward. And so that was pretty much my grandpa. And then my stepmom, I texted her, actually. I texted her the day I told everyone, I texted her saying, so have you heard yet? Because I thought my mom would have called her, and she was like, no, what's up? And I was like, oh crap. I was hoping someone else was gonna tell her, you know what I mean? I was like, I'm pregnant. And she was just like, oh, like, she said something like, oh, sweetie. And I was just like, yep. And she was very supportive, just like my mom. They're both of my moms were very supportive from the beginning, and I love and respect them for that. And they just said, you know, whatever I choose, they're there for me. And so I love that, and it really helped a lot. And so they were supportive, and she was just like, well, what do you want to do? And I was just like, I want to keep it, you know, I don't want to get an abortion. And they were like, okay, like, I understand and respect that. And I just remember my stepmom texting me just saying, like, I'm here for you, and, you know, you're gonna love this kid with all of your life, and, you know. And so that was pretty much the last person that I told that was like immediate family, pretty much. I mean, my stepbrother, I didn't tell him. My stepmom did, and I never heard how he reacted. I don't know. Yeah, I didn't tell him, so I didn't know how he reacted. But other than that, I told my friends also. I just texted them pictures of the pregnancy test, and they were like, we're here for you. And that's pretty much it. That's my immediate family, and they're all supportive now, and they all love Blake so much. And even my grandma, she loves Blake and loves holding her. And so yeah, I just want to, like, I'm making these videos also to, like, tell you guys that no matter how your family reacts or anyone reacts, they will always be there when the baby comes. Like, I mean, 99.9% of the times, from what I've heard, is, and also my experience, is they are there for you no matter what. They're family. And once the baby comes, like, Blake was a miracle. Like, I love her so much, and my grandma loves her, and my grandma was against it. My grandma definitely had some words to say when I was still pregnant, and it took her a long time to start accepting it. It took her till I was almost 8 months that she started accepting it. And sometimes you just have to kind of take a step back and look at your situation and say, okay, this is about you. This is your life for the rest of your life that you're going to have to, deal with and grow with. So you need to think in your head, it is about you. It is not about your family. Like, it is, obviously it's going to affect them, but this is your life. This is how you're going to live the rest of your life. So don't let anyone else influence you, and stick with what your heart says, and you'll be fine, and people will come around, and everyone will love your child. So that's pretty much it. My next video, I'll be explaining how my ex reacted and his family, or I also have to talk about how my pregnancy was almost ectopic. So I don't know if you guys know what that is. Ectopic is where the egg is stuck in the fallopian tube. So that was almost what was happening in the beginning. And I can also explain how it was going to high school, being 6 months pregnant, So yeah, but thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys later. Bye.